Good afternoon. This is Gülay Özkan from GEDS. Today, we are going to talk about designing online experiences. Our webinar will take around 40-45 minutes. Our schedule is around 40, but in case there are more questions, we can go extra 5 minutes. Just very briefly, again, this is our first webinar, and the next webinar is on April 23rd, and I'm going to announce it at the end of this webinar. Today, we are three speakers speaking from three different countries. I'm based in Istanbul, and I'm founder of GEDS Strategic Design Consultancy. And from GEDS team, Leni Andronikos, she's taking care of our marketing. She's based in Stockholm. And our speaker, Ratnesh Singh, who is head of global business Buzz Nation Event Technologies. He's again based in London. All the interactions, questions, everything will be also taken care of by Selen Sırel, also from GEDS. She's also based in Istanbul. Hopefully she might also answer some of your design questions. And then very briefly, we'll be very brief, very sharp about the things that we would like to share with you. We will introduce our company, like what is design, what we mean with strategic design. And then we will review several brands' online experiences, just to give you an idea what the brands are doing these days. Then Leni from our team will share how brands are behaving online from marketing perspective, and she will also share some key insights and learnings. And then Ratnesh will speak with also he'll get some questions. Leni is going to take care of this portion of the webinar. And then last but not least, we will be sharing our guideline or 10 tips for designing online experiences. By using this guideline, you can also share your online events. And I mean, you are also more than welcome to email us and to get some feedback from us. And then we will introduce our next webinar. First of all, we are a strategic design consultancy based in Istanbul. When we say strategic design consultancy, we means positioning design in the center of the business. We basically utilize design-driven methodologies and tools to create human-centric solutions. It could be services, products, strategies, cultures. It could be also events. And then we call this human centricity, but at the same time, we are very much conscious about the ecology. Our Twitter address and our web address will be also shared by Selen on our chat room. And we have been working many brands internationally. We are super proud to have a distributed team. We are a design researcher based in Oxford, UK, and Leni in Sweden, and we are also some people in different countries helping us. And then proudly can say that our work has been featured on Stanford Social Innovation Blog, and we were also part of Singularity University and Quartz, Harvard Business Review. All these brands, we were featured by all these brands. And currently, we are leading design of a large-scale international project in 9 countries in Europe, which is a large-scale nanotechnology projects. Our aim to develop smart products for older people. And also, I can proudly say that with our design work at this project, we recently won Design Value Award at BMI Value Awards. We had the 2nd place in Boston last September. And I can proudly say that we are funded by European Commission. I mean, we are going through a pandemic, and would you please tell us how we are feeling today? Oh, there's a typo, but I'm sure still you can see. Please share how you are feeling today on the comment panel. And also, would you please also share which countries and companies you are from? We highly encourage you to interact with each other, see this as a networking opportunity as well. If you see any specific company that you are interested in and you want to interact with, please privately send messages. I mean, this should be the more interactions, the better for us. I mean, we really want to interact more. And first, I would like to go through some online experiences that we have reviewed. This will take 5 minutes. And at the end of this 5 minutes, I will hand over to Lily. So during this pandemic, we have been, I mean, at home mainly and in front of screens, and this is quite overwhelming. A lot of calls, a lot of webinars. So many people are going on live on Instagram, and it's seriously overwhelming. So it's very important to understand how brands are positioning this and how careful they are about the experience, because we looked at from experience perspective. For example, the first example, this was a Quarantine book club. It's a book club indeed launched during this pandemic by a Mule Design Studio based in New York. And then this was the only webinar we paid, the others all free. This we paid $6. And basically they are launching this webinar series with authors, and they are all related with design. We picked Michael Beirut. There were several authors. We picked Michael Beirut mainly because it was fitting. This was the only one fitting our time zone. It was super relaxed environment. The moderator was quite relaxed, asking people, joking about, and then you could see like they use Zoom, and like in our case, people were able to see each other, and you can see how many people were attending. And there were the nicest thing that you were able to ask question one-to-one Michael Beirut, which is normally is not super easy to find Michael Beirut to ask questions. And there was also fantastic intimate moments, like someone asked Michael Beirut how is he like about his books in the back in his library. He started to show his books and share his memories about the books. It was quite a nice experience. The second experience we checked, it was Singularity University's event. This event was 3-day, it was full 3-day conference. It was huge. There were 25,000 people attended, and they used Crowdcast as a tool. The people were asking questions, and then the questions were voted. The most popular questions were answered. We liked this event, but of course we didn't attend the whole event. We were thinking that some of the content were quite repetitive, and then we think this whole content can be run even in one day. They got around 22,000 people, but next time the subject was COVID, so everybody was so interested in, and we don't think that getting 20,000 people will be quite easy. But the good point that in the chat window they had this the chat policies, because when you have 20,000 people, you don't know what people would talk. So you don't want something that you don't want. So they were the only ones at the chat policy. The third one is Radio Corona. We really love this name. It's by the MIT Tech Review. They launched this webinar series. These webinar series were quite different than the first two. They had mainly an expert talking, and there was almost very limited interactions. They prioritized the information they share, so it was a one-way. So we were feeling like we were in a kind of glass room, and I mean we can see them, but they cannot see us, or we cannot see each other as participants. Overall, also interesting that they were sharing this background animations, which we found quite disturbing. But overall, and they had quite many technical challenges in the beginning. The fourth one is Quartz. Quartz, a media outlet. I also write for Quartz. Their remote work series, which is basically remote working, is very popular now. We also have a blog post about that, and Salam might want to share that. And then they use Blue Jean as a platform. We accidentally logged in the link one day before, and they had this screen that we will begin shortly. So it was quite funny. But in general, Quartz moderator was speaking at her home in front of her fireplace. It was a very warm feeling. And the speakers were speaking very briefly, so it was quite easy to follow. And also, the interactions were managed quite well, so it was quite, we found this event quite successful. The last one was the IBM's corporate event. This was around 2-3 hours. As you see from the screen, they have this several windows. You could change them, but there was almost zero level interaction. I mean, there was no interaction at all. So it was a very corporate and only one way kind of sharing the information was the type. But we still liked the resources that they shared. The only thing, for example, this was, by the way, it was a local event in Turkish, and as you see on the screen below, there were like a 5 minutes break. We were expecting that in this 5 minutes break, we could maybe interact with the other participants, but there was no option. So basically, we were waiting for 5 minutes. So this is overall, we rated all these events on our blog. You can also find the article blog. I think Salam will share the link. And we are very curious about how has your experience with online events been so far? I mean, do you find them useful? Do you think they are too long? Do you enjoy? Do you have fun? Do you learn things? If you can write down on the comment channel, we really would love to see whether you like this online experience in general. Now I will hand over to Leni. Leni, would you like to use the slides? Yeah, I'm going to give you here you go. It will take you just 2-3 seconds. She will get over the controlling the events.
Thank you so much, Galay. Well, first of all, guys, it is fantastic to be here today. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us and be part of this conversation. Yes, perfect. So the key question that I really want all of us on this call to be considering in this time is, how can we actually transition from that how to respond to the crisis reactive mode and actually flip to more of a how does our solution help tackle this crisis conversation? This is backed up actually by some pretty powerful insights that were released by Edelman yesterday. If we can actually just go back, sorry, I'm getting, yeah. Fantastic. So 90% of people that were surveyed actually believe that brands should be doing everything in their power to protect the well-being and financial security of their employees and their suppliers, even if that means being partial to big financial losses themselves until the pandemic ends. 90% of people also think that brands should be partnering with the government and relief agencies to address this crisis. 71% of people believe that brands and companies who place their profits before people during this crisis will lose their trust. And 33% of people have actually convinced others to stop using a brand when they felt like the brand is not acting appropriately in response to this pandemic. Not only since the crisis began, but actually since the beginning of 2020, brands have really started focusing on building an intimate, authentic relationship with their customers, and they're starting to do that online. They're building webinars like we are today. They're developing chat groups. They're producing more branded content, more branded entertainment. They're really starting to invite customers into their brand and giving them access to the brand like never before. What's really key, and especially in a time like this, is they're actually inviting their customers to be part of this journey. They're being vulnerable and they're being empathetic, and those two are very, very key here. And we're also starting to see brands inviting those consumers to start co-creating the future of that brand. So when we think about what this brand will look like in the post-pandemic era, and they're actually making those decisions together with their customers, which is really fantastic to see. Next, what we're starting to see is brands really developing their brand purpose. And defining a brand purpose, as we all know on this call, really helps you communicate your brand values. It shows that you stand for something. This is also where you can tell a deeper, longer, more personal story. And brands have really started to shift that relationship beyond what they're selling, and they're really making it more around helping their customers, especially in a crisis like this. So they're kind of shifting the messaging from product to more around how they're supporting their customers, and they're really focusing on that cause-related marketing activity. This really helps build visibility in market. Again, we all know in this call how powerful social impact work is when it comes to driving social media noise and also earned media coverage. One thing I just want to make very clear and just remind everyone as well, one thing to remember when you are shifting to this larger brand purpose is you really, really need to make sure that that purpose has been in your brand's DNA from day one. Otherwise, your consumers are going to see straight through you. They're going to think that you're purpose washing, as we call it. So just starting to do a lot more social impact work, because that's what the rest of the market is doing. So my one piece of advice to any brand owners on this call is really just to make sure that the values you're communicating have been in your brand DNA since, day one. This is actually really important. We're going to talk about leveraging new technologies right now, and Ratnesh will actually talk further in detail with you in the next section. But a lot of customers that we know are not able to visit the brick and mortar retail locations anymore of a brand. They're not able to have one-on-one interactions with sales representatives. They're not able to come and touch and feel and interact with your products in real life. But this virtual community that you can now build through things like webinars or online community and chat groups like we're doing today, it's just as strong as an alternative. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. So Maybelline, obviously the very large beauty powerhouse. In the last couple of weeks alone, they did a really fast development sprint, and they released 5 different interactive features on their US website. So that basically included virtual try-ons of their products, things like foundation color picker and finders, a brow studio so you can check the shape of your face and which products is right for you. And all of these products are really delivered to help guide your customers through this personalized experience. So you're not losing out by bringing that physical experience into the online world. It's just as fulfilling for the customer as meeting a sales assistant in store. Another example out of China was a beauty company called Perfect Diary. They use the power of live streaming. Obviously, it's a very, very powerful tool in China. But basically, they engaged 50 of their in-store makeup artists to actually come online and host one-on-one interactive live streaming sessions on WeChat. So again, it's like a lot of brands are taking this agile response. They're sprinting through new product development just to start bringing those physical experiences onto the online world. Next, what I want to talk is, while brands are obviously really hyper-focusing on this new customer experience, they're really laser-focused on instilling confidence in their consumers. And that's something that I really want all of us to be thinking about. How can we show customers that we have their back during this crisis? How can we show that we're empathetic to them and their stories, and how we're prioritizing their experience in our customer journey? Finally, before I wrap up, there are 4 key takeaways that I would love everyone to take away from this section. So we just need to be understanding, anticipating, and going above and beyond for our customers. We need to be leveraging the right technology to stay ahead of this challenge. And as I said, Ratnesh will be going into more detail about different technologies that you can use when designing online experiences next, right after this. We need you to be agile with your marketing and ad spend, and of course, activate as much purpose-led marketing messages as you can. All brands should really be focusing any communications right now into helping customers through this crisis. So that's it from me for now. Gulai, I might hand back to you, or perhaps would you like me to introduce Ratnesh now to the group?
Thank you. I mean, before going to the speaker, our speaker, we would like to ask a question. We have a poll. We would like to ask which aspect are you interested in designing online events? Now I'm launching the poll, so you will have the question in front of you. Would you please answer the poll? Let's see. Everyone can answer except me. So I cannot. I think this can, if there are any attendees recent, I mean, just join the call, please tell us which country you are attending from, and also your company, please. This way you can maybe interact each other. And let me share my slides again, then we will ask Ratnesh to give his talk. Leni, would you like to, by the way, you don't have any slides, so please go ahead.
Absolutely. So guys, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce you to Ratnesh Singh. He is Head of Global Business at BuzzNation Event Technologies. He's based in London. And Ratnesh, I'd love to hand over to you now to give a short introduction about yourself and your experience producing these really large-scale online experiences for clients right around the world. I'll hand over to you now.
Sure, Lenny. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining in. And thanks to Gulay, Lenny, and Celine to really, kind of invite me on this forum. So appreciate that. If you guys are okay, can I share my screen? Is that okay?
Ratnesh, it may not be possible. If you send me the because
okay. No, I think that's fine. I kind of know the thing. So right. So BuzzNation is an events technology company. We are a 2.5-year-old event technology company. We are based out of the US, but we do operate in US, Europe, and Australia. We started off as an events technology company, and the funny part was we added more things to our portfolio because our clients wanted us to do that, and not so much as we wanted to do. So BuzzNation started as an events technology company, but today we are an event management and a global exhibition company ourselves. And last year we have done 67 global shows. We have rapidly escalated our numbers over the past 2 years. We never thought we'd reach those numbers. And in this current situation where we ourselves were obviously hammered with the kind of cancellations which we have seen, but the way we are reacting to it is making this an opportunity for ourselves rather than being the victim, right? So I'm very happy to share a few things with you on that. And if you guys want to stop me anywhere, just go ahead. It will not bother me. So I'm happy to do that. Now, what do we see? So we are an agency who has been impacted, and the kind of losses which we have, we have current cancellations, which is more than $1 million only for the next couple of months, right? So we are kind of under that kind of pressure to, bring back that kind of money. Um, now, obviously, the first thing we did is when something like this hit us is we went to our events technology team, which was basically just 1/3 of our total team, right? And we went to them and we said, the situation has changed, but we have an events technology focus for 3 years. We are doing 18 global events. Can we quickly learn, rewire, and respond to this situation, right? I think it was pretty easy for that team, but the challenge for me was the other teams, really, right? Because they were not having the events. So, so obviously, from our perspective, what we did is we sent 80% of our team into learning and development, and 20% of our team is essentially into sales and client management. So we are constantly engaged with clients. And the way we are doing it is we have been very clear, open, and upfront with our customers. And what we have communicated is, okay, maybe we are not the best guys with all the virtual event experience. You are also not the best guys because you have not done this, right? So let's look at a scenario where we can co-create this. So don't tell me that show me 20 examples and 30 case studies. That's not going to happen. um, I think what is going to happen is the fact that we will help you create the the solutions you want, and I think what we will do is we'll work with you on that. So I think that is how we have responded, to this situation. We see this as an opportunity. We see this as a window of opportunity for agencies like us. Initially, we thought the window of opportunity could be till June, but given the flow of cancellations we see on our other business, I think the window of opportunity has extended till December at least, is what I feel. There may be few things opening up, but for us, that is how we see it.
Ratnesh, can I jump in and actually ask some questions specific around your conversations with these brands? So whether or not they may have cancelled their upcoming events for the year, or perhaps they've pivoted with your help to take these offline experiences online. Can you give us any anecdotal references from these conversations? What has been the feeling, and any key learnings from taking these offline experiences to the digital world?
Right. So as I mentioned, earlier, the kind of people we work for are technology companies. They're large guys, mostly 5 billion plus companies. That's the clientele we have, and also pharma. So what has happened is, and now that in this scenario, we are getting a lot of other companies reaching out to us for a solution. But when it comes to existing clients, the situation is this, that they are sitting on loads of marketing budget and they don't know what to do. Marketing CMOs don't want to give the budgets back because that will put them in trouble anyways. And the kind of vibe which I'm getting from most of my clients is they have a mandate from their management to go ahead, do something, make the mistakes, and they will be fine with that. So I think that is helping marketers be more creative and kind of be more brave. I think from a business continuity standpoint, most of them see this as an opportunity.
And Ratnesh, can you tell us what the most successful channel that you've seen during this corona crisis period has been? Is it online webinars? Is it, say, a 3-day conference? Can you give us any sort of insights of high-performing channels?
Yes, I think most of the action has been on the lower side of the pyramid, which essentially, when I say lower side, means things like LinkedIn Live, Facebook, YouTube Live. So these have seen a lot of action. There has been much more action on the enterprise side with On24, Zoom, Adobe. You guys mentioned about IBM. So that is the semi-enterprise. I think this section is seeing a lot of action because the cost is low and the cost to fail is quite low. And I think most of them want to do small things, make those mistakes, learn, and then probably go to higher technology. And again, there is also a learning of not just technology, but how to manage the flow of this entire online event. So I think broadly, this is what I'm seeing learning at the moment.
And another question from me, how do you see this post-pandemic era? Do you think that creativity and offline experiences will return to normal once the virus has been contained? Or is there going to be a new normal for this industry, and what does that look like?
It will be a mix of both, Lenny. So essentially, the way I see it is, so the clients who will benefit in this environment by doing things, even after people go back to their old ways later, they will still have a virtual version of a physical event. The whole idea comes from the fact that when you invite 1,000 guys to an event, 200 turn up, but what about those 800 guys? So I think using a virtual as a medium, they can expand their scope with the same event. So I see, the way I see it, clients will actually still have virtual now, especially enterprise customers will have virtual as part of their marketing plan going forward.
Fantastic insight, Ratnesh. And my last question before I open it up to the group. So I would love to invite everyone to jump in and please submit your questions for Ratnesh to answer in the chat. But my last question, is there 1, 2, or 3 top technologies or tools that you would recommend for brands? So when I'm talking about brands, I'm saying mostly small to medium-sized enterprises. I know that you do work for the big multi-billion-dollar corporations. However, for the sake of the guests on this call today, who are mostly owning or working for small to medium-sized enterprises, which tools or technologies are on the top of your list for them?
Like, we consider ourselves a small company, so I think that can help answer that question. So we at the moment are using LinkedIn a lot. There has been a challenge going live on LinkedIn, but then we have put in our applications. We are using all social media, all free technology at the moment, but then we have a paid plan coming up soon. So I would actually encourage non-enterprise customers to look at the lower stack of the market. Start there. It is at least it keeps your clients updated about what's going on at your end and where you are, what you're doing, and it's easier for them to get back. So I think using Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, it's a definite yes. And then if you can manage, then move on to On24, Adobe kind of a platform. That's more for the non-enterprise customers. For enterprise, it again depends on different kind of initiatives, but they are doing all this plus virtual environments as well, things like INEXPO, Hyperfair, and several others. So.
Fantastic, thank you. And I'm just going to be wary of time because we are running short. So I've just got one fantastic and really relevant question from Ricky in our chat group here. His question to Ratnesh is, how long will the impact of this pandemic last in your estimation?
Okay, yeah, so just answer, in my estimation, 2020 is wiped out for anything physical at the moment, from my estimation, and it's all about virtual at the moment. So we are looking at till December, at least the way we see it.
Fantastic, thank you. Gulai, I'd like to welcome you back now and hand perhaps back over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Lenny. We can also maybe get any questions in general about the topics that we have talked so far. Please feel free. And also, we are aware that there's a technical problem about the poll. So Selan is adding the question to the chat panel. Please feel free to answer give your answers on the chat panel. Let me go back to our slides. And we have around 10 to 15 minutes left. Now we would like to give you a guideline for you that you can go through and then design your either events, it could be services, or it could be strategy, it could be different things that from scratch. So this will take around 5 minutes. First of all, by far, the most important thing when you design anything is the context. Context is simply the external elements that influence the use of what you want to design. For example, if you want to design a product, where is this product used? In which country? In which culture? Is it used in a home environment? Is it used in an office environment? Or whatever the environment that you can think. So when you think about the context, you need to consider the language, interactions, simply everything around your subject. So for example, if you want to launch your product launch during this pandemic, our context is we should never ever forget that the people's first priority is their health, their loved beings. How do they feel about these things? Like, for example, no matter what we talk here, the most important thing today that we need to know as the host of this webinar, how we are feeling, because we would like to know, like, how are the things in your family, and do you have any serious concerns? And then this will give us, when we designed this webinar, these were the first things that we were thinking. So context is by far the most important thing. So define your context with bullet points. The second thing is, this is also very crucial. You need to start from scratch. You cannot copy anything before the pandemic, because that time people were having a lot of interactions with other people. Now almost everyone is at home in front of their screens, so they cannot go out. They have different concerns. They are worried about their maybe financial situation. They are worried about their jobs. So you need to make sure that this is a new environment. You shouldn't copy any experience from the offline meetings, from YouTube, or whatever the things that you can think. So think that this is a new experience and you need to start from scratch. The third is the facilitation. Facilitation is a task, a separate task, and it's not easy at all. Be prepared. I mean, for example, for this webinar, we had almost 5 different sessions to be prepared, to test. I mean, we test everything, but still, let's say with this poll, we have technical issues. So you need to be very well prepared and make sure that someone completely separate taking care of the facilitation part. For example, in our team, Selen is in charge of the interactions. And the language and the tone should be very much aligned with your brand as well as home environment. We are at home and no need to pretend like we are in the offices. And then you need to be always encouraging and welcoming people. It's not super comfortable to be on a virtual environment and interact with each other. People are might be scared to ask questions, to send private messages to each other. So in the beginning, you need to set the rules, and then you need at least 2 people for any online event. One person should be just focusing on the interactions, and then make sure that you share your policies if it's a large event, the chat policies, because some people might try to sell their products or share adult content, so you should be quite careful about that. Be brief, because right now people are really tired of being in front of screens. And then also people have kids, they need to take care of their kids, they are not in the offices anymore, they need to cook, they need to take care of their older people. So you need to be very brief, and whatever your content is, try to do it in the half time of what you have planned. So here today, we could easily make this webinar, let's say for 1 hour, 1.5 hours, but we just want to make it brief, and we will try to finish in 40 minutes. Your time zone is the new border. So when you organize online event, you need to make sure that who's your target audience. For example, for this event, we just mainly take Europe, but of course the east side of the North America, this was the time zones that we targeted. And also this might you might think that this is quite temporary, but even after this pandemic, most of these online experiences will stay forever. So you need to understand this logic in the beginning. And also, last but not least, you need to remember to respect people's family time, lunch break, holidays in different zones and countries. For example, Easter weekend is coming, so we already canceled all the online meetings, etc. So it is important to respect people's private times. Authenticity is something, again, right now people worry about health, their well-being. So you cannot try to be too formal, too like artificial things. The authenticity really will help you to have a better communication. Tools, although as a strategic design consultancy, we really think that the human experience, we look at the things from people's emotions, experiences, and also behaviors perspective. But tools are still very critical because some tools gives you more room for interactions. And also if you are organizing a 20,000 people event, it's different tools that you need to use. We find Microsoft Teams and Chromecast more is a bit better tools for large events, but Zoom, BlueJean are kind of, at least from design perspective, we like their also user experience and the interface as well. Attention span is very low. I'm sure some of you right now surfing on the internet and you are maybe checking your emails, you might be checking the time. So the online attention span is lower. So that's why we have different speakers with everyone not talking even more than 5 minutes. So it is quite, we need to be very brief. Attention span is very low. And the background picture, this is the joke in our office. So people do some animations. Okay, we appreciate these funny things, but they can be also quite disturbing. Please make sure that if they are there for specific purpose, that's okay. But otherwise, be simple, go simple as much as possible. I mean, we all know that you're at home. Maybe you are wearing your shorts under your shirt, but make sure that that things are simple and not disturbing. And last but not least, no matter what we do, we shouldn't forget that we are going through a pandemic. Whatever you do in a call, in a webinar, in an event, please make sure that you ask how people are feeling these days. And business is business, but human relations and solidarity in this period should come first. And then this is no matter who you are and which brand you represent, because the solidarity, especially this type of crisis period, is quite important. This is more or less what we would like to share. And then before closing and also announcing our next webinar, would you let us know whether you have any questions that you would like us to answer? It could be to any of us. Please, I should ask Selen if there's any. Maybe we can wait for seconds. Okay, so let me then share our next event. We were super excited about our next webinar because it's about the post-pandemic era. This is going to be on April 23rd, and then with Kristen Miller-Kelly from San Francisco. We'll run this webinar together. I'm super excited because Kristen Miller-Kelly is she was the head of design at Singularity University. I'm also one of the graduates of Singularity University. This is how I know Kristen. We will be talking about the post-pandemic era scenarios, because everyone is right now is curious about how, for example, things will change, whether the social distancing will stay, whether we will go back to offices, how fashion are going to change, and all these changes, all these possible scenarios, we are going in this webinar. We are going to briefly talk about this exponential problems, exponential solutions, and also how we approach these scenarios. Selam will be sharing the event link. If you would like to register, please do so. We have limited seats. And then, these are our contact details. Thanks so much. This was our first webinar. We were super excited. And then we will have more webinars coming, of course, from design perspective. We would like to contribute to your time and your learning. And also, if you have any, if you need any support with your current events, you might be maybe organizing an event in your company or for different reasons, please email us. We would be happy to give you feedback. If there is any comments, any questions that I would like to ask one more time, it's our pleasure. Thank you. It's very much our pleasure. Thanks for joining. And then hopefully see you on April 23rd, 3:30 London time. Rashnet and Leni, Selan, thank you for everything. And then have a nice day. Bye-bye.